Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome to a Moss and Hip Hop video. Now, I wanted to overall talk on this. This is something a friend of mine has shared on Facebook. It's something that I don't agree with because I don't know. I'm not going to say that I'm like a Lil Durk hater, but I ain't going to say that I'm a Lil Durk fan. I'm not even really a fan of E-40, but I can recognize when there's either some hatred or just too much love for one artist or the other. So, for those that can't read, that says Lil Durk have more hits in 3 years than what E-40 have in 30 years. Now, question, who did you hear about first? E-40 or Lil Durk? Whose music was in Stump the Yard, E-40's or Lil Durk? Who has been in the game a lot longer? That's why I'm like, you can't compare 3 years to 30 years when the music game is very different from how it used to be back then from how it is now. I feel like now it's much more easier to get your music across. But I feel like back when E-40 started and back when a lot of 90s artists, because yeah, if we're talking like sales and who's making more money and like how music is getting across the globe more, of course it's gonna probably be Lil Durk. I mean, what, he has one of the biggest songs of 2020 with Drake. So how can that be unless it was like radio plays or TV plays or something like that? That would probably be the only reason why Lil Durk will be in a better situation than E-40. But me personally, I'm like, if it wasn't, this is no disrespect to Lil Durk. You know, he was doing his thing a lot longer before this whole Drake thing. But I'm like, yeah, I honestly probably would have never just went out of my way to go listen to a Lil Durk song unless it was that song that he did with Drake. So I'm like, and that's, once again, no disrespect. And E-40, on the other hand, I'm like, I don't just be going out my way and listening to his music either. But you can't say, especially when they're from two different eras, that one has more hits or is better or whatever they're trying to say. I'm like, yeah, I personally, I'm like, I can only really name this one Lil Durk song, and that's the song that, or actually two. So there's two songs, and it's a song that he did with Uzi, and then there's a song that he did with Drake. But E-40, on the other hand, I mean, what? The man's been in TV shows, music, or of course music. But I mean, yeah, it's like and then also I'm like, if any artist today would rather have Lil Durk or E-40 like do a collaboration. Now, like that's I'm like, you know, what I'm like curious about from like other artists is I'm like, who would you rather have as a like collaborator on either an album or a song? Cause I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Lil Durk. Hands down, if it, like, you know, if it wasn't for men like E-40, I feel like E-40 definitely added more to the hip hop and rap platform. So that's why I'm like, you can't sit here and say, I'm like, yeah, if it wasn't, I feel like if it wasn't for E-40 hits, it like probably wouldn't have been a lot of music that's out today. But back on the whole like collaboration thing, like who would you rather have collaborating? Like, if people say Lil Durk, I ain't gonna be mad at you. You know, if you more of a fan of Lil Durk, I can understand that. You know, there's just two different, I feel like they just come from two different boats when it comes to music. So I'm like, you can't necessarily say like, oh, they have more hits than the other, when it's like they don't even really make the same type of music. I feel like E-40 has his own type of style, his own flow, his own music. Lil Durk, he has his own style, flow, music, all of that. So saying that one has more hits, I'm pretty sure Lil Durk, he has more hits than a lot of people. So I'm like, and the people, they'll probably say the same thing. It's like, you know, nobody really knows who he is. He didn't really start. And my thing is like, anybody that's really listening to him today is most likely because of this Drake song, or most likely because he collaborated with Uzi back in the beginning of the year. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, who was? And also on top of that, this post, so it's like 5 days ago. But anyways, when I had checked to see when this post was posted, it was posted on the 1st of this month, October 1st. So how, where would you have made this post if it had been like last year or back around the time when like Lil Durk started, or when he came out with his like last hit or whatever, you know, prior, before that, would this post have been made? No, it wouldn't. Because I'm like, it didn't get made up until now, up until this whole Drake song started blowing. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe whoever, yeah, because I'm like, there's so many different artists that you really couldn't compare, that you can compare Lil Durk to. I feel like comparing him to OG artists, an artist where a lot of people that say, hey, I look up to this guy like as an inspiration and things. I'm like, yeah, you can't really put them in that same category regardless of whatever hits Lil Durk has. I'm like, yeah, E-40, he's a legend. So I'm like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you know, it don't even really matter like how many hits like one has or the other. I just feel like that E-40 is a more recognizable name than Lil Durk. So I'm saying like, you know, yeah, Lil Durk, he might, you know, if people want to say that and if it's true and if it's facts, then yeah, he has more hits. But I feel like E-40 is just far more legendary and things. So yeah, I wouldn't really call this a fun hip hop fact. I just feel like that's an opinion. So, anyways, but yeah, you guys have something to say? I should have looked that up, but I'm like, nah, I'm already committed. I don't know. I seen that and was just like, whoever made that, I'm like, if you don't like E-40, just say that, but don't try to come up with some like all the artists that you could have said and things like you're gonna have that comparison. I'm like, that's nah. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't really agree with that one. So. I feel like that's an opinion. But anyways, yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and peace.